Hi everyone, it's JG here with EARTH-5D University, back for another teaching where you are the light, the path, and the way forward, friends. How are you today? Super excited to talk about this topic. So excited to have you guys, and I'm ready to get right into it. I hope you guys are ready too. So we're talking about sexuality and our divinity, and how our sexuality and our divinity interlock together to create our perception of reality, right? It creates our perception of who we are and our place on this earth, right? Who are we and why are we here? It's a question that I often think about and often want to talk about. So the way that we can understand ourselves is through the lens of our divinity, because we are divine creator beings that are here. We're sparks of God here on earth, and we're having a human experience as divine beings. Now, what happens to us often is that we come to earth, and instead of understanding our divinity and being shown that, we are shown something much different, right? We are exposed to sort of a demoralizing or devaluing our divinity through this sort of like perversion at times of our sexuality. So whether it was through sexual abuse or through the four-letter word that starts with a P and ends with an N, exposure, even through the lens of Hollywood, right? We are exposed to a devaluation and a inversion of the truth of our divinity. And oftentimes our divinity is sort of like taken from us, okay? It's stripped out from us, and it's done in very subtle ways, but the end result is the same. And the end result is that we lose conscious understanding, we lose touch with who we actually are, and we lose touch with our divine sense of self. And how we perceive ourselves is how we perceive reality. And so we are brainwashed into thinking that we are much less than we actually are. So I'm here today to remind you of your divinity, okay? And it doesn't really matter per se what's happened in the past. Okay, so I had a real rough childhood because I was aware of this kind of perversion from a very young age through like just stuff that, just abuse, seeing it and just knowing like, God, that stuff is toxic. That stuff is toxic, right? It takes away from your personal power, which is right around your third chakra. It takes your power away because you are brainwashed into forgetting who you are by devaluing your divinity through your sexuality. So it's like an uncoupling of what needs to be coupled together and to form this beautiful energetic flow that's you. That's you. You're just magic. And so you're divine and you're magic, and we've forgotten this. So and so what happens is this, like when I was younger and I was like bucking the system and realizing the perversion, the lies, the untruths, the injustice around me that was imposed on me. Like everyone around me thought this was normal, right? To act this way or to be this way to children, to teenagers, even to adults, right? It's just, I couldn't figure out, I couldn't wrap my head around why the world is this way. And so I totally went against it. I rebelled against it. And I talked a lot lately. I've spoken a lot lately about how I had a conversion experience to Catholicism where I really was able to feel my own divinity. And like for 3 years, I couldn't even say a swear word, or like I just completely gave up like drinking and sex. And I literally was thinking about becoming a nun. Just because I wanted to escape and like run like hell from the perversion and the injustice and what I felt was like the heavy layer and darkness in humanity, right? And so that wasn't the way, right? So because if I would have done that, I wouldn't have been able to integrate all of the pain that I went through. I wouldn't be able to integrate what it's like to be a human, what it's like to be a mother, what it's like to be an employee, what it's like to pay bills and to, be perfectly thriving human citizen, right, on this earth. So I had to go through it all. But I wanted to just share, before I became baptized, I had to choose a saint's name. I chose the name Saint Monica. And that's my saint name because Saint Monica was the mother of Augustus. And Augustus, before he was Saint Augustus, you know, he was a rebel. He also bucked the system. He also was like, this is BS. Like, he was a drinker, he was a womanizer. You know, he did all the things that he wasn't supposed to do. Trying to like buck this, like I keep saying bucking the system, but like going against, being a rebel against what you see as injustice, right? So if you experience some of that, you might have dipped your toe into some like rebellious energy and some of like this perversion, right? Some of this, or just trying to make sense of like, how am I going to exist within this, right? How am I going to exist within this? So the way I've noticed that you can do that, exist within this, is by understanding the truth, which is your divinity. And you can bring that into your own sexuality, interlock it back together in a way that serves you, that causes value rather than devalue, and causes you to feel like morally right. Like your inner compass is feeling pretty good, right? Because, and that's, I could never tell you what that is, right? I could never sit here and say, oh, you should be this, you should be that. No, it's all inner knowing, inner knowledge, know thyself, right? That's the saying that the mystery schools embrace, that are becoming less of a mystery because humans are ascending, they're waking up in their consciousness, they're evolving. So know thyself, right? Hermes Trismegistus, he says, as within, so without, as above, so below, or reverse that, as above, so below, as within, so without. And it's like, that is saying to us, maybe in a little bit of a cryptic way, that to know God is to know that we are God, right? We are like attracts like. To know God, we must honor the divinity and godness, the spark of God that we are in ourselves. Okay, and that's exciting. There's energy around it. So I'm just merely peeling back the layers to help you see into a new paradigm where perversion is not part of it, where you don't have to devalue yourself. You can value yourself. You can undo all the thinking and all the negative and imprinting and indoctrination into what someone who would be devaluing themselves would do. Like, if you don't like yourself and you're devaluing yourself, then you're not going to treat yourself well, right? And you're not going to treat others well. And like, to really get people to imprison, or beings to imprison themselves really well, is to teach them how to imprison each other, right? Which is what happens. So let's just stop right now and take a look and say, hey, what is it about me that I'm devaluing? Like, am I giving myself enough value and worth? And if not, how can I use my sexuality and my divinity to create something magnificent? And it doesn't have to be a sexual act. It doesn't have to be. It could be painting or hiking or interacting with nature, right? It could be creating something amazing like music, or let's say you like to draw maps. Like, who knows? Like, whatever it is that you like to do, that is using your sexual life force to create something more beautiful and divine. Doesn't mean you have to be abstinent or run out and be a priest or nun. It just means that how can we take back our energy and our divinity and use our sexuality to create something beautiful rather than something constrained or even perverse at times, right? So you are powerful, and you can powerfully use your force to create pain and suffering, or you could powerfully use your force to create joy, lightness, and divinity. And you can always tell what it is, your inner orientation, by the fruit that it bears. If it's tight and constraining, it's not the light. The light is freeing. The light is like a cool breeze. The light is like a feather blowing. The light is freedom. Freedom. So whatever makes you feel like you're tightly bonded to something, I would question it, and I would say, what fruit is this bearing in my life? Is this bringing me joy? Is this bringing me lightness? Because if it's not, then I can go back to my divinity and drop the perversion and drop the inversion of truth. When I say perversion, it's the inversion of the truth. And the truth is, and no one can take it from you, is that you are divine. No one can take that from you. So let me leave you with a prayer. So we just ask you, Spirit, to help everyone on this channel, and people who aren't on this channel that we love and care about, to really find the divinity within themselves and to interlock their sexuality and divinity in a way that they understand the truth of creation, the truth of being the powerful I am presence that we all are here on this earth, and that we embrace and understand and do no harm to ourselves and others as we spread this light and divinity through the generations into creation itself to make it better for our children, children's children, and children's children. And they're able to see what the truth is and live by it. And we just ask this in body, mind, and spirit through all time and space and consciousness. It's done, it's done, it's done. So it is. Thank you guys.